The clone soldiers of the Galactic Republic. Over 1 million identical men bred to follow every order as they devote their lives to protecting the Republic during the Galactic Civil War. But have you ever wondered about the inner workings of the clones? Do they have moral ethics and empathy? What are their thoughts and feelings about the war and their role in it? And their relationships with each other, and the Jedi, and the Republic, and which takes priority in a dilemma. Well, one of the things I like about the Umbara Arc in the Clone Wars series is that it's one of the arcs that most explores the heart of these questions and more.
You believe that? Or is that what you were engineered to think?
So, although this is a very battle-heavy arc, it's also a deep character piece on the clones, which gives us a lot of unique emotional and philosophical context from the soldiers' perspectives, all while arguably being one of the most visually stunning arcs in the series. Not to mention one of the darkest, literally and figuratively, hence the name Umbara. So, getting right into this, it's definitely one of the more action-oriented arcs, modeled after the classic war flicks, and in true Star Wars form, we start right in the middle of the action. Skywalker and Kenobi's forces have broken through a separatist blockade over the planet Umbara, which is in a key, highly strategic location along the most vital supply route in the galaxy. Anakin and his troops are assigned to take out the Umbaran reinforcements to the north of the capital city, so Kenobi's troops can move up from the south and seize the capital. However, Umbara is not only fraught with treacherous jungles and vicious monsters, but also monstrous high-tech weapons operated by the very resourceful Umbarans. But these ferocious guerrilla fighters aren't the only obstacle the clones are going to have to deal with during their mission to take control of the coveted planet. And I like how the production team used the aesthetics of the planet to illustrate the descent into the fog of war. And you can hear from the shouting, the clones genuinely want to just help the Republic win the war. They're there on the front lines, sacrificing themselves for the Republic. This arc is often called Vietnam in space, from the politics driving it to the combat in the field. Which brings up the first point of intrigue here. Losing Umbara would have a detrimental effect on the Republic war effort, but is the Republic in the right to forcefully take back a system which has seceded from the Republic? Either way, right now, the army has a job to do. But before long, Skywalker is called back to Coruscant by the Chancellor, and the gruff and by-the-book Jedi Master Pong Krell takes command over Anakin's battalion. Once they near the capital, rather than surprising the enemy with multiple attacks, we see Krell change the plan to an all-out attack along the main route, which, just as Captain Rex expected, opened them up to a full frontal assault. But then, just as things start going disastrously, I like how we see Rex in action as he improvises a plan to salvage the situation and prevent more loss of his men. However, Krell's response is a bit surprising, as he scolds Rex for disobeying orders and compromising the mission.
Your failure!
Rex begins expressing concerns to Krell, but calling them only by their numbers. We quickly learn Krell, in contrast to most other Jedi, sees the clones as subhuman tools and demands complete obedience above all else. And though Krell acknowledges he has the highest number of clone casualties, he also has very successful results. But soon after, along comes a change in plans. When Kenobi informs Krell the Umbarans are receiving more reinforcements by way of an airbase to the west, Krell orders the troops to capture it. However, things again go a little sideways, as Krell's strategy is yet another highly vulnerable one. And though this arc starts off like every other arc, where we follow the Jedi and the clones along like a fly on the wall, here, in this arc, we are taken inside the candid perspective of the clones and see the unfolding of the story through their eyes, as they express to each other their thoughts and opinions on General Krell, his overly brazen strategies, and his disregard for the clones' lives. But Captain Rex must maintain a position of balance between the morale of his men and loyalty to the General, as they reluctantly continue to march into what will most likely be, as the clones say, a meat grinder.
A full forward assault would leave us too exposed.
And where is Krell all this time? We're kind of a little disappointed in him to find that he continues to watch these disastrous attempts from afar. But despite the catastrophic routing the clones are enduring, we're relieved to see Rex devise another clever plan for clones Hardcase and Fives to commandeer a couple Umbaran starfighters to take out the heavily armored Umbaran tanks which are holding them back. Now, while the Umbaran starfighters are really cool, both in design and in their highly advanced technology, Hardcase and Fives struggle to control them. But they do ultimately manage to take out the Umbaran forces besieging their battalion in an exhilarating battle. But alongside all this dazzle, what's also important to remember here in this arc is not only are they fighting a questionable campaign, but the clones are fighting against fellow living people, rather than just droids, which I think brings out the brutality and horror of it. And additionally, I can't help but notice some parallels presented in this arc with the concepts and visuals presented in Bladerunner, such as where is the line between a human and a lab-created human?
We're soldiers.
So anyways, at this point, you're expecting Krell to berate Rex for disobeying orders. But we get a bit of a surprise here, to be sure, but a welcome one. No berating yet, all the same. By now, we're really starting to see a growing major distrust of Krell among many of the clones. But no sooner than they successfully take the airbase, they receive a weak transmission from Kenobi, dropping the news to them that the Umbaran capital is now receiving new reinforcements from a separatist supply ship up in the stratosphere, and that his armada is unable to take it out. And then, things get worse. The separatists began bombing Republic forces from the sky, and Krell's unit's transmissions get jammed, leaving them completely cut off from any communication with any other Republic forces. With all these pressures bearing down, Krell needs to think of something. But we're shocked to hear him ordering his battalion to continue their reckless solo march on to the capital, despite it now being even more heavily armed and defended. Unwilling to take any more heavy losses and risk losing the campaign, the clones once again talk amongst themselves and hatch a plan to fly to the enemy supply ship in Umbaran fighters and take it out themselves. And what does Krell think? He of course firmly forbids it, stating they'll need every trooper they have to take the capital. And now I can't help but start getting really pissed at Krell and feel a lot of pity for the clones. But our heroes can't, in good conscience, just ignore the better idea open to them.
Round up some pilots.
Now, I find it very compelling here to see how committed these clones are to doing what's best to help the Republic, even in the face of dire personal consequences.
You would be court-martialed.
And that they're not only doing it because it's best for the mission, but also because it will prevent more casualties. So along with their highly trained strategic skills, they seem to also possess a sense of moral integrity and responsibility. They inform Rex of their plan and await his response with bated breath. Will he stay loyal to Krell's command or side with his troops, knowing they have a plan that could be much more effective?
I can't help you.
when you get caught.
So he doesn't tell them not to do it, only that he can't help them when they get in trouble for it. And so, despite all the risks, they decide to go through with it.
I don't like him.
And I like how the plan is based on Anakin's destruction of the Separatist control ship during the Battle of Naboo. Flying casually, Hardcase, Jesse, and Fives infiltrate the Separatist supply ship, but the battle droids put up the impenetrable ray shields around the supply ship's main reactor. And here we see something truly special. Dedicated to the Republic and his mission to help it, Hardcase takes it upon himself to see to it the reactor gets destroyed, and sacrifices himself to complete the mission. So, not only do these clones have empathy and a moral compass, but also have the capacity for heroic self-sacrifice for a cause bigger than themselves. Upon Jesse and Fives' return, Krell honors them for being the heroes they are, right? Nope. This time he stays true to his cruel form and brings the hammer down on them. And for their insubordination, he orders their immediate execution in order to reinforce unquestioning compliance amongst the other clones. So, how do clones respond when ordered to execute fellow clones, when all they did was help the mission? The other troopers refuse to follow through. Much to Dogma's dismay, a clone soldier who has chosen to remain loyal to Krell this whole time.
Because if this is how soldiers are rewarded for heroic actions, then one day, every man in this battalion may face a similar fate.
Great dramatic tight shot here of Rex and Krell as Rex informs him of their refusal to execute Fives and Jesse. A transmission then comes in reporting that the Umbarans have stolen clone armor and weapons and are launching a counterattack on the airbase. Krell orders the battalion to move out and preempt the attack, and then to proceed further and take the capital alone. And sure enough, they're soon ambushed by what does appear to be a platoon in clone armor. But soon, Rex discovers something he can't believe. Yes, the other platoon was not Umbarans at all, but fellow clones from Kenobi's battalion.
Look! We clones! We're all clones!
The platoon leader being Waxer.
Tell me, who gave you the orders to attack us? It was General Krell. He sent us to these coordinates to stop the enemy.
So, what do the clones do now?
Don't know is why. From this point forward, we are entering uncharted territory. My orders are, we arrest General Krell for treason against the Republic.
Avoiding arrest, Krell bolts, and with his two dual-blade lightsabers, goes on a murderous rampage, slaughtering every clone in his path. And this chase sequence is one of the more badass in the series, but also sad and frightening. And who comes to Krell's defense, holding off the pursuit? Dogma, predisposed to loyalty to his commanding officers, wants to protect Krell at all costs. Which is another poignant moment knowing what comes in Revenge of the Sith.
I used to believe that being a good soldier meant doing everything they told you.
And as the chase continues, we go back to the local flora and fauna as the clones manage to neutralize Krell and throw him in the brig.
A new power is rising. I've foreseen it.
And now, we finally learn the reasonings behind Krell's morbid actions.
My new master.
You're an agent of Dooku.
So, now the clones know Krell has gone to the dark side. in hopes of impressing Dooku, and thus to rule alongside him in what Krell has foreseen on the horizon as a Sith Empire.
I followed all of your orders.
And of course, Krell used the clones' natural tendencies and dispositions to steer them into serving his purposes, just like Palpatine. And so, we now see the clones enter into the big granddaddy of dilemmas. What do they do now, knowing Krell intends to help the Separatists, who are on their way to crush the Republic on Umbara and beyond? What do they do with someone who is too dangerous to be kept alive? And here we see Krell is relying on the clones' inability and unwillingness to kill a Jedi.
I have to do this.
You can't do it, can you? Eventually you'll have to do the right thing.
But in the end, it was Dogma who fired the shot. Which is interesting because throughout the arc, you kind of find yourself rooting against Dogma.
He betrayed us.
So, we see some clones can't bring themselves to kill a Jedi, no matter the circumstances. And we also see some clones are indeed able and willing to kill a rogue Jedi in extreme circumstances.
He betrayed us.
In this case, not only one who has betrayed the Republic, but also tricked the clones into killing each other. Dogma could do it because his highest loyalty lies with the Republic. And I think with Rex, a lot of why he couldn't do it had a lot to do with the fact that he had grown to respect Anakin Skywalker so much. And speaking of Anakin, I wonder what he thought of all of this. And then we close with some poignant self-reflection from the clones.
What's the point of all this? I mean, why? I don't know, sir. I don't think anybody knows. But I do know that someday this war is gonna end. Then what? We're soldiers. What happens to us then?
So, thanks to the clones' ingenuity and ability to think creatively on their feet to quickly solve problems, they saved the Umbara campaign and possibly the fate of the Republic. For now.
And its fight against corruption.
Before sacrificing himself, Hardcase told Jesse and Fives to
Live to fight another day, boys.
Live to fight another
showing
day.
clones do care about being alive and fighting for the Republic. And that while clones are willing to die on the battlefield, that doesn't mean they're meant to be treated merely as cannon fodder. They shouldn't have to die needlessly. Their lives deserve just as much respect as any other. Prodding us to ask, how human are the clones? Your choices are what make you who you are. This arc also gets us to ask ourselves, what are we most loyal to? Do we truly think independently, free from the programming we're subject to? Are our destinies in our own hands? And the answer to the questions at the beginning of the video, it depends on the clone and the experiences they've had throughout the war. Overall, a very intelligently written arc, back when Star Wars TV was top-notch stuff.
I like it.
And by the way, the second episode of this arc was directed by Walter Murch, who not only co-wrote THX 1138 with George Lucas, but also edited Apocalypse Now. So, let me know what you think in the comments. Did Dogma make the right choice here? And overall, should clones just be generic automatons, or can they develop unique personalities over time? Thanks for watching, and hit subscribe.
We can sneak right past their blockade.